It's Monday evening. It's a late part of the day, and I've been very, very busy today. Lots of things to get done because this is a very significant week for me, a week that will make a big difference if I don't get it right, and it'll make a big difference if I do get it right. So I would appreciate your prayers. Tonight, I'd like to talk about a pen, a prayer, a pod, and power. That's right, a pen, a prayer, a pod, and power. And I'd appreciate if you'd just take a few minutes on this Monday evening to let me tell you more. This is the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience. This is Stan Houston. The Christian Entrepreneur flagship program begins right now. Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stan Houston, and you can reach me at radioedge77@gmail.com if you have any questions or perhaps some suggestions and recommendations as to how we can help you. What we're about as part of the Christian Entrepreneur Network, we'd like to help you become a Christian entrepreneur who has access to God's special wisdom, insight, strength, and direction so you can build a life and a business that makes you fully alive, that makes a difference, that matters. And then you can live the good things that can come from life and service by doing just that. Someone asked me, what is the best time for a podcast? Well, that all depends again. Oftentimes I've discovered that later in the afternoon or the early evening might be the best for the kind of program I do. However, there are some people who want to do their work right first thing in the morning. They want you to listen to what they have to say right in the morning. Some people want to do it once a week, perhaps on a weekend, so people can be a little more reflective and perhaps have a little more time throughout the busyness of the week. They can perhaps give a time of, hey, sit down, be quiet, just think and reflect. Again, it all depends on who you're trying to reach and what is the goal or the purpose of your program. Well, we're trying to help you be better at what you do, and this may not sound like something business to you, but it's very vital to you. My wife, Karen, who is a businesswoman in her own way and has quite a career both in the financial services industry and then obviously helping me in the international missionary radio work we did together, and then now as an encore entrepreneur, she has a wonderful jewelry operation called Statement Jewelry, and she's found a way to help men and women. The men, they can find beautiful things for the women they love, and the women they love can find the things where, as she claims, and it's true, somebody will make a nice comment about what you're wearing today. Those are all things that we'd like to do, and she came to me after church, and she handed me an article from Guidepost magazine, and perhaps you know something about it. It's a classic, inspirational, thoughtful, certainly spirit-based counsel for life, service, and helpfulness. And it was by one of her favorite authors, Debbie Macomber. Now, that name might not mean anything to you, but if you are a fan of Debbie Macomber, it means a lot to you. She is a woman, a Christian woman, a mom, and she had difficulties in life growing up, and she wanted to be a writer. But you know what? It wasn't working out. She wrote and she wrote and she wrote, and the more she wrote, the more rejections she got. And she just kept doing it. Well, eventually, that first book got published, And now Debbie never has to worry about books being published because everything and anything she writes, people are clamoring to publish. And even the famous Hallmark Channel has decided that she's one of the prime contributors. And so here she is, a mom with children, trying to make life work, make a little extra money for the family, has found her way into a life of true wealth and income. And the income is not just the money. She's done very well. But what truly income is all about. And she wrote a little article called Pray with a Pen. And it really struck a chord with me. So with that in mind, can I just take off? And please go and read the article yourself. Debbie Macomber, and it's Macomber, Pray with a Pen. But it struck me because it had a couple of things that work with me too. First of all, one of my good friends, Herman, who is a world-class entrepreneur, came to America when he was very, very young, escaped from Eastern Germany, from the Russian occupation, and suffered as a young boy through the horrors of World War II. Came to America and has become quite an entrepreneur, establishing many businesses, and lived that true Christian entrepreneur life. He was telling me the other day that he had met with a guy who had come to call on him, and it turned out the guy didn't have a pen, so he asked Herman if he could borrow his pen. And Herman told him in kind but no uncertain terms that if a man did not carry a pen, he was not ready to do business. You carry a pen, particularly if you're a salesman, saleswoman. You're going to close, aren't you? You're going to hopefully write an order, aren't you? Well, what are you going to write with? And I love that story because he made that as a point of reference for how he would even evaluate someone. Now, of course, I love pens. I make pens. I've got a whole collection of pens that I made, and there's a story behind that. But there also is something that makes me unique and distinct and different, is that I enjoy not only making these fine classic pens, but I enjoy occasionally selling one. But mostly, I just give them away, and I use my trademark line, something like this. I made this pen. It's a really nice pen because life is too short to go through it writing with an ugly pen. So write beautifully, and then I say, this is for you. And I give them my handmade pen. Now, it doesn't have any advertising on it, none of that cheap stuff. It's just a very nice pen, and it's unique. And they're the only one who has one just like that. Here's what Debbie says, that throughout her life, even during those very difficult times, this is what she had to do. She would get up every morning. And you know, if you want to be really good at something, you correct yourself just like I did, but you do it every day. You do it often. You do it a lot. I oftentimes tell people I have to speak or teach or write or connect or communicate probably every day if I want to stay good at what I'm called to do. And she would write a prayer. Now, many people have heard about journaling, and that's something you can do. And there's ways, and of course there's hundreds of books on how to write a journal. But she said, start this way. Just write a prayer. Start by writing a prayer. There you are. The day is before you, or the day has just passed you. Pray about it. And there's something very powerful about taking a pen in your hand and a piece of paper, and maybe even a nice piece of paper, and by hand writing it out. Now, there's been a whole lot of research which has shown that that's a very good and wonderful thing to do. And so what she says is write a prayer every day. Get a nice pen and write a prayer. You don't have to show it to anybody. In fact, you probably shouldn't. As she said, she has volumes of prayers and journals that she has written only for herself, and they are so personal that she even puts them in a safe because they're not for anybody else to see or take or try to look at. They're just for her. Perhaps for somebody else sometime, but just for her and God who has loved her and cared for her. So I thought about that. You know, one of the things I'm going to encourage you to do, because entrepreneurship is not something you do. It's a state of mind. It's a state of spirit. It's even a state of soul. And all of that needs cultivating. It needs growing. It needs strengthening. Yeah. Body, mind, spirit, soul. That's the diamond for the entrepreneur, and you have to keep doing that. Your product and your service will come and they will change, but those four things, body, your mind, your spirit, and your soul, those states, and by taking that nice pen and writing a prayer, that will do some good things. Please respond to me. What do you think about that? Now, there's one more thing that'll really help you with your day, and we'll talk about that when we just come right back.
Come and listen in to a radio station where the mighty host of heaven sing. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. If you want to hear the songs of Zion coming from the land of endless spring, get in touch with God. Get in touch with God. Turn your radio on.
What's your plans for this week? You should know by now. It was Monday. There is a good chance that you're like a lot of people. You showed up on Monday morning and you weren't quite sure what the week was all about. But by the end of the day on Monday, you ought to have a pretty good idea of what you're going to try and accomplish when 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock rolls around on Friday. What will be done, what will be accomplished, what will have made the work of the week worthwhile. As I oftentimes say, at that particular time, you'll be 168 hours closer to being dead. And what will you have achieved? Well, a pen, a prayer, and a pod. Oftentimes I know that I'm better if I really have a purpose of the day. Now, I've got lots of things I have to do which I don't like to do. There's bookkeeping, there's all kinds of process work that I have to do as a small business owner. But I also know that I better have at least one significant thing that I want to achieve for the day. Now, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's almost a lost day except for the blood, toil, tears, and sweat, and maybe the experience I had. But what is the purpose of the day? So if I begin with a pen, a prayer, and a pod, I think I'm going to find that there's going to be more to life for me and more success and greater real income if I do that. She says I don't do it every day, but I do it most days. And it has to be something unusual before I'll miss a day. And I don't want to miss more than 2 days. I've got to be back at it. I've got to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm just going to simply say, here we are at 15 minutes. Our 20-minute podcast is going to be short because it's Monday. But I'm going to simply ask you to think about, as you go through this week, do you have your favorite pen? If not, get one, a nice one. What's your prayer time. What's your P-O-D? A pen, a prayer, and a pod. We'll probably give you another P. It will give you spiritual force. It will give you power. Indeed, the Pentecost power of the God's Holy Spirit that perhaps may give you something that you never dreamed possible or even imaginable. Just might happen. I'm Stan Houston. This is the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience. We'll be right back. And we're back just to say goodbye. Please help us out. We are going and growing, and there are all kinds of opportunities for you, and we'll be telling you more about that. But right now, we could use your help. So if you will go to tcenglobal.org/contribute now, tcenglobal.org/contribute now. I would like to believe that the last 15 minutes were helpful and valuable to you. And we'd be grateful if you could help us out. We ask for donors, but more and more we'll be asking for sponsors and players and investors. We're not just here to do our deal and hopefully you'll support our deal. We're here to do our deals together so that we can go and grow and profit together, so that we can think better, so that we can believe better and believe more, so that we can live and behave well, and then we can finish well. And the good Lord will say to us, you did well. Come on home. I'm Stan Houston, RadioEdge77@gmail.com, RadioEdge77@gmail.com. Again, all the best and blessings. We'll probably see you tomorrow. We'll see what time and place and space brings, but we will be back. Bye for now.